It's the first day of Labor Day, and I'm coming on here to talk about something that I finally learned in a different method, and that's called let the nature take its place. Don't change your accent. 13-year-old me. So what I mean by that is I had struggles of learning how to be in the moment. I constantly want things to be on the go, go, go. And then when I realized that I took it for granted, I pushed too far, I end up, what I was going to say is that if you aren't happy with where you are at the moment, you're never ever going to feel at peace with anything that you do. And that's why I'm telling to 13-year-old me to don't change your accent. And the first mistake I made was back in 2014. It was my first time in England. I was so excited that I finally can be in an environment where there's British accents around me. In fact, interestingly enough, I never assimilated to the British culture by doing the English accent. My American accent didn't get weaker, but as soon as I got back to the States, I was already missing England, and I started ending up doing more English accents. And then a year later, when I went out on vacation to Canada, eventually I was having fun with Canada. Oh my gosh, don't get me wrong. I ended up sounding more Canadian, don't get me wrong. I started saying washroom, where's the washroom? And then I slipped A's here and there. Where's the washroom, eh? Where's the washroom, eh? And then, but when I got back from Canada to the States, I didn't have the need to talk in a Canadian accent. The only thing I found weird is that the Toronto International Airport is that they exchange money in US dollars. So I was like, okay, does that mean in the Dallas airport or Denver airport, sorry, could I exchange, or could I buy things in Canadian dollars? No. So that was the only thing that was a sign that I was missing Canada. But flash forward, going on, me being in college in Virginia, I started to develop a Shenandoah Valley accent. I was starting to sound more southern, if you will. And when my mom was visiting me in Virginia, I was starting to say yes ma'am, no ma'am a lot more. Can I get some sweet tea, please? And at that point, I wasn't homesick for New Mexico. I was just, again, I was at peace with the fact that I was living in Virginia. And so I found it really cool at first that, like, dang, the southern tone was slipping in, you know? Flash forward, even when my mom came to visit me, she even noticed, like, Kentron, you sound a little different. I'm like, well, sorry, I just love my sweet tea. No ma'am, yes ma'am. So after staying in Virginia for almost a year, I graduated college, and I moved to Arizona for work, and my golly, the tendency of saying yes ma'am, no ma'am went away. It faded. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was even explaining that what I'm explaining to you guys right now to the ladies on the plane, said, yeah, being in Virginia, touching back to the southwest of the United States, I'm already losing that southern tone because that's the environment changing. And I accepted it. Was already missing Virginia? Yeah, I was already, like I've said in my past videos, I was depressed after college, you know? And that was part of it. That was part of the change of the environment. The adjustment is hard because I go from one flow of the communication representing one side of me to the other is difficult. But did I change the accent? No. It just flowed. It flowed. The yes ma'am, no ma'am. May I have some sweet tea, please? Thank you. It just came. It wasn't me that forced it. Because now, had I forced a southern accent in Arizona, that wouldn't have represented me in Arizona at that moment. And I wouldn't have touched the true fruits of Arizona. No. And so, what really got me though was that one time when I was having lunch with some coworkers as our launch of our project, I asked the waitress, could I have some Southern sweet tea? And she said, well, we don't even have sweet tea at all. And I was like really shocked. I was like, really? Well, and I sure as hell wasn't going to put some sugar in the iced tea. But the waitress offered, we can maybe mix the lemonade with iced tea. And then that's when I realized I'm back in the Southwest, because we're known for Arnold Palmer's. But that's not the same as Southern sweet tea. So I was like, no, I can't. No, thank you. So I ended up didn't get any tea. So I stuck with water. So, but that was really what was getting to me. Now, what I'm getting at is, well, okay, so before I continue, it motivated me to wanting to do more of a Southern accent, but I could not, because I knew that I was no longer in the South. I was no longer in Virginia. So it didn't make sense to do that Southern accent as much as I missed it. But I couldn't pinpoint to why I was doing the right thing, because that wasn't me anymore. But, time comes back, because a year later, me being in North Carolina, the yes ma'am, no ma'ams comes back. And no, I'm not going to force myself to do a Southern accent on YouTube, because there's no need. There's no Southerners around me, because it's Kentron representing who he was all along on YouTube. I mean, can I take chuckles? Can I take the appreciation of that very moment of me doing that Southern accent? Oh, absolutely I can. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it. Just, dear 13-year-old me, don't force your accent. Don't change your accent, because it doesn't represent you. You are cool as the way you are. And I'm sure if I were to go to England again, I'm sure I'll probably slip some English words, English styles of speaking, if I may say so. But as of right now, it doesn't need to. There's no need for it. Because at times I feel like, oh my gosh, I have to represent the times when I was in England. So therefore I have to do a British accent. No, I don't have to. Just like flashback in some time when I went to the Midwest, I was already missing the Southern accent. And then a year later of this year, me being back in North Carolina, I was missing Minnesota. And I was doing a Minnesotan accent towards the Southerners. But that doesn't represent me, just like doing a Southern accent in Minnesota, because that also doesn't represent me. That's forcing one energy that's no longer in use to another. The true energy of me right now is that if there is modern Southern accents in North Carolina, then so be it, because that was part of the environment that I'm in that makes me find the true best at ease at that very moment. Just like me being in Minnesota, if I do say bagel, oh my gosh, then so be it. But I don't need to say, may I have some sweet tea in Minnesota? Like, no. You don't need to completely be a robot to how the Midwesterners live, just like I don't need to be a complete robot to how the Southerners live here, because I'm still Kentron at the end of the day. I mean, I'm very blessed that I had so many exposures to many cultures all around the United States. But you don't need to force an accent just because you missed that part of the country, just like you missed that part of the world. I did not need to do a British accent in the South. Neither do I need to do a Midwestern accent in the UK, because that's not within the same energy levels. Don't change your accent. But if it's part of you being at the ease of that moment, then so be it. Man, I love this nature. Because Terrain is important. Terrain is really important. Dear 13-year-old me, do not change your accent, because you are great as the way you are. You are already representing yourself. You are already building a story. Just that time when I was in England, just like the time when I was in Canada, just like the time when I was in the Midwest, just like the time when I was living in Virginia, just like the time when I was living elsewhere. It's okay if it fades away. I used to feel bad for British people losing their accents living in America, but I'm sure they're fine, because it's that British person's moment to be in that American setting, because they had that purpose. It was part of that purpose. Because if they continue to try to force their strong British accent in the States, then that's not truly representing that British person, ain't it? Just like it's not truly representing me doing a British accent in some random rural town in the South. Because accents is part of the end product. You don't want to force a factor. Let the factor make the product. And you'll never, ever have to be anxious or depressed ever again. Be at peace. Let the end product be the final results of your happiness. Don't let the product, don't sacrifice your happiness for that product. It's not worth it. And so that's why I'll just talk the way I'm talking. And if I were to go back to England again, and I slip some English soundings here and there, then so be it. Just like if I were to go back down to southern Georgia, and I start to sound southern, then that's totally fine. I don't care. Because people will like you for who you are. People will like for what you've done, for what you do. Or what you do, yeah. Because I know that if I were to go back to, if I were to be in Ireland, for example, I'm sure I'll find the Irish people that will love Kentron because he's Kentron, not because, he is an American that happened to do an Irish accent very well. No, you don't. We're not an actor. We're actors, but we're not actors. We're actors, but we're not really actors, if you know what I mean. Because if you're acting to be an actor, then you're not living. You're being a robot. We all, as humans, we're already are actors. So don't change the whole byproduct of your character. If you were to force an accent, you'll destroy your own character. So, yeah, I figured to come on here and say this. I don't think many people will understand what I'm trying to say. But if you do, great. If you do have questions, then comment down below and I can help answer this. But thanks for joining. That's the TED Talk. Happy Labor Day, everyone. Bye-bye now.